kula na kuhakikisha kwamba eneo hili linaweza kupata mazao yake katika upande wa ngano na pia mahindi. Kuna pia eneo hili la kaunti ya Narok inajulikana kwa upande wa utalii. Hapa karibu tu kilomita chache kuna ile mbuga ya wanyama ya Masai Mara ambao iliweza kutambulika wakati mmoja kama mojawapo ya miujiza 7 duniani na ikafanywa kuwa muujiza wa 8 duniani kulingana na wale nyumbu ambao huvuka mle mto Mara kila ufikapo mwezi wa 8. Kwa hivyo kaunti hii pia inajulikana kwa masuala ya utalii, na watalii wengi hutembea tu sehemu hii kuzuru mbuga ile ya wanyama ya Masai Mara. Kwa siku chache ambazo zimepita tangu serikali iamue kwamba sherehe hizi zitaletwa katika kaunti hii ya Narok, tumeweza kuona biashara katika eneo hili vikiweza kunawiri. Wafanyi biashara, wale wa maduka, wale wanaoendesha biashara ya jumla, wale wenye mahoteli, wale wenye vyumba vya kulala wameweza kufanya tu biashara nzuri katika kulingana na wale wageni, idadi kubwa ya wageni ambao imejumuika katika kaunti hii ya Narok. Na pia tumekuwa na wanafunzi pia katika kutoka sehemu mbalimbali katika kaunti hii wameweza pia kufika katika sehemu hii kuweza kujionea jinsi sherehe hii inavyoendeshwa. Kwa hivyo ni jambo tu ambalo limekuwa likiendelea. Hii ni mara tunaona katika mwaka uliopita wale wakazi wa eneo kaunti ya Meru waliweza kupata fursa ya kusherehekea Madaraka, ambapo rais alikuwa kule na akazungumza kuhusu masuala ya ufisadi. Akasema kuwa wananchi wahusike na serikali wajumuike pamoja kusaidia kupambana na ufisadi. Ni jambo ambalo janga la ufisadi lingalipo. Tunaona kwamba hivi majuzi tu siku ya Jumatano rais mwenyewe akafika pale na kueleza viongozi kwamba isiwe tu ni kufanya siasa kuhusu swala la ufisadi. Hii akasema ni wakati wa kutekeleza ambayo yanasemwa ili kupambana na janga hili. Wananchi kwa kweli wameweza kutamaushwa na ongezeko la ufisadi nchini, ambapo mabilioni ya pesa yanaporwa kulia kushoto na kufikisha kwamba hamna maendeleo yale yanayohitajika kufanyika. Kwa hivyo ni swala la ufisadi litaweza kutizamwa pia. Kunakuwa pia na ile hali ilikuwa handshake pale rais aliweza kusalimiana na kiongozi wa upinzani Raila Odinga, na ambapo akasema kueneza hali ya umoja na uwiano, na tunamtaraji Raila Odinga ataweza kufika uwanja huu wa Narok, ambapo pia ana ufuasi mkubwa sana kutoka kwa jamii ya Maasai. Kwa hivyo tunamtaraji, ametoka tu mjini Addis Ababa Ethiopia jana, na tutamtaraji atafika hapa ili akaweza kujumuika na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Kiongozi wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka hataweza kuwepo hapa kwa vile naye ameenda katika taifa la DRC, ambapo kuna yale maadhimisho ya mazishi ya yule aliyekuwa waziri mkuu wakati mmoja katika taifa la DRC Congo, Etienne Tshisekedi. Kwa hivyo kule ndipo yule kiongozi wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka atakuwepo. Kwa hivyo kutoka narejesha studio, tuendelee na mambo mengi zaidi hapa.
Great. Thank you so much. Our very able team there, Patrick Amimo, Hassan Kauleni, and Muremi Mwangi, of course, coming to us from the Narok Stadium in Narok County ahead of the 56th Madaraka Day celebrations. And our conversation here continues. Remember, we are still asking you what your expectations are this Madaraka Day. I see at Santimanyo Kangi here saying absolutely empty promises. My goodness. Morandongo says, empty talk, something like fellow Kenyans, my government is committed to the fight against corruption, with DCJ Mwilu rescued by his point men. Masharia Wangoi Prince saying empty talks. Okay, let me just end it there. But basically, those are just some of the feedback that we're getting from the question that we asked. And just to mention, we did hear from particularly, was it Muremi Mwangi, who talked about the residents streaming in really early at the Narok Stadium, just showing perhaps their expectations in this day. And sir, I wanted to talk about devolution, the state of devolution, how far we are. Just to mention, especially what we've been witnessing in the recent past. You'll remember the incident at Kerugoya County Referral Hospital, just an example, and the situation there, quite sad, I must say. But again, to be fair, we have some counties that are doing really good. Makueni County comes to the top of my mind, like Laikipia, I would say. We've seen Kiambu County, just to mention, when he appeared before the Senate committee led by Moses Kajwang, and the budget, you remember, State House factions, South Sudan peace. So what is the state of devolution as at now?
So the state of devolution is more of a mixed bag. Mm-hmm. And this is why I say that. For those counties that were extremely marginalized, and most were, mm-hmm. Part of the reason why Kenyans wanted devolution was because we had a very centralized system, mm-hmm. which was highly skewed in terms of how development happened. Mm-hmm. And it was not the mistake of the administrations then, but it was just with the resources that we had, the executive did choose where they put their resources depending on what they thought was priority. So when we ushered in the 2010 constitution, mm-hmm. the imagination was that we would share resources more equitably and ensure that every county has at least 15% mm-hmm. of the national cake. Mm-hmm. And then that shared among the 47 counties. Of course, that can be anything depending on, but as long as it doesn't go below 15%. So in most counties, including where I come from, mm-hmm. There's a lot that has happened in the last about 6 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. Some of the things are basic infrastructure, opening up small roads within those places. Mm-hmm. There are some counties that have tried. You could see even streetlights in small towns, mm-hmm. like my own town in Kimilili. So there are many things that have happened, mm-hmm. To just show that devolution has had a positive effect. Mm-hmm. We've had governors now directly intervene on health centers, mm-hmm. putting up health centers, putting up mm-hmm. drugs. Makueni is a classic example of how devolution was meant to work. But it's the contrast is that some counties are meant to be doing that, but they are focusing more on the Waititu style of doing things. So when you have a situation where leaders are focusing more on ensuring that they take as much as possible mm-hmm. the money that have been allocated, then of course the things that are supposed to be done actually end up not being done. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything that we need to focus on critically as a country, and we keep talking about it, and this is not Manyasi speaking, mm-hmm. the president has spoken about it. EACC has said we lose around 300 and around 10 billion shillings every year. That's government speaking. It's not even us throwing those figures. Mm-hmm. The president has said consistently in all his speeches, including today, I'm sure he'll talk about it, including yesterday, mm-hmm. he will always talk about corruption. It means it's official that this country has a corruption problem. So what is ailing counties majorly is more of corruption. Mm-hmm. And the only positive about things around corruption in counties mm-hmm. is that even as counties do that, people are, I know that what I'm about to say is very controversial, people are stealing, but they are putting up nice homes, they are employing people here and there. Mm-hmm. That's why we look like there are many things happening down there mm-hmm. in the counties. Mm-hmm. But you see, that is not sustainable. The counties, the way they were designed, they were meant to actually be centers of economic empowerment. What that means is that the counties were supposed to create opportunity for farmers, for example, to access markets. Mm-hmm. So this imagination that governors have of putting up markets without thinking about how these markets are going to link to farmers mm-hmm. and how farmers are going to benefit from getting their products faster to the market, mm-hmm. and not only get to the market, but how do we ensure that the products that get to the market, if they're perishables, mm-hmm. do not end up being lost. Because in this country, post-harvest loss, for example, almost runs into 30% of the entire production. Mm-hmm. That's unacceptable. So those are things that are deeper, that governors need to have thought deeper. Mm-hmm. But you see, one of the major problems that devolution came with is that people started employing people, not necessarily because they're supposed to fix a problem, mm-hmm. but it's because either they are friends, or it's because they think that they are trying to appease a certain sector or a certain community. And so they put people in offices mm-hmm. who don't think deeply about some of these things. Because at the end of the day, you need to have a CEC. If you have a CEC in charge of agriculture, or in charge of cooperatives, or in charge of trade, who does not think more than just putting up sheds and putting up markets, then that CEC does not qualify to be a CEC, because the money that the counties are being given is so much It may not be what they need to entirely do everything, but that money should be used prudently to actually uplift the lives of farmers. You see, the Kenyan farmer today, they know that they are hardworking. They go to their farms every morning. They produce food, which for those who sell, hope that they can sell at a price which will help them take their children to school. But you see, that farmer may not understand why their product does not fetch much. You see, those are things that the farmer is supposed to be helped to achieve without them having to think about. Because you see, you do not expect a farmer in Mount Elgon, for example, to take their produce to Kakamega, or a farmer in Mount Elgon to take their produce to Nairobi. It's the county that is supposed to figure out how the farm input, what are we as a county, for example, if you're a county of Bungoma, what are we as a county able to produce? And if our farmers are producing a lot of cabbages, a lot of carrots, a lot of tomatoes, then where do these things end up? What is our market in terms of a county as Bungoma, for instance? Then, if that is our market, how much are we supposed to consume? And this supply, how do we ensure that farmers do not get losses because the oversupply cannot be purchased within the county? Let me go back to Narok. We know that Narok is known for, especially for tourism. So anything that the Narok County government does is supposed to link that to tourism. For example, when you think about Narok, think through, when tourists come to Narok, what are the things that they require? Is it the facilities that we need to improve on? Is it the food that we need to supply to those hotels? Is it clean water that we need to ensure that those people have? Is it a cleaner environment, and therefore how do we protect our catchments? If, for example, you woke up tomorrow and Narok, the migration of animals had died, or it is not able to happen because the rivers can't flow anymore, and because now the tourists can't come, what happens to the economy of Narok? And what happens to the economy of this country? So that is how deep we need to think. And devolution was meant to bring people to think much harder than just thinking about, you see, Narok is very good at extracting some of the money that they get from tourism to pay themselves. And as they pay themselves, then how do citizens benefit from the county getting money from the tourism subsector? So the counties were the best thing that ever happened to this country. However, the same counties are now a source of a lot of corruption. They are a source of a lot of mismanagement. You find transition from one governor to another, and because I have come in as a different governor, I leave all the projects that the other governor started in the middle and start my own project. So that is wastage of government resources, which we need not to do. Again, I have a problem with the way even the Auditor General does, the way we have structured the law around audits. Because we go look at books, we go look at what is it that things. But you see, we need to go beyond that and look at, if there was a project that was started, can we value that project? Can we think about value for money? By the time, if we will get to a point where we'll get to that point of saying we are getting value for money, then questions around projects that do not make sense, that become white elephant. You can't go and put up, for example, a borehole in a place where people do not require water or where people do not live. It has to make sense. You can't put up a road worth billions of shillings when you know that the traffic on that road is such that it does not make economic value. So we have to think about things like that before we start any project. And the counties, if they were to think properly, and just pick one or two things that they can focus on, like the way Professor Kibwana has focused on, especially on health. If you focus on one thing and succeed, focus on health and succeed, focus on education and succeed, this country will be a much better place to live in, and will reduce the poverty levels of the Kenyan citizen.
Sure, because I remember there were actually issues raised concerning the Auditor General by Senator Moses Kojwang, especially after he cleared Kiambu Governor. Ferdinand Waititu.
Waititu, yes.
Yes, especially after, you know, what came out in the budget. So yes, we really need to work together, as you said. But then I need us to talk more about, still on devolution, but now the fact that such kind of celebrations are now being taken to counties. They've been to Machakos, to Meru last year, and now Narok. And just going back to what one of our viewers said, at least this, you know, the 56th Madaraka Day has given the town a new look, and business has also improved. So probably is there some benefit, I would say, of this celebrations being taken to the counties?
One of the benefits is that you bring the celebrations to the counties, and therefore that makes it possible for Kenyans to feel like they're part of the national celebrations. So at the end of the day, the national celebrations are supposed to be felt by everyone. When you have counties take part in this, you reduce tension between the national and county government, and therefore at the end of the day you get to diffuse the imagination that these things are a national preserve. The people of Narok are saying that probably business is doing better in Narok. What they also need to understand is that it may be a one-day affair. Of course, their towns will be cleaner because they have now been cleaned up. Maybe security has been improved for today. But after this celebration, what happens to Narok? Narok goes back to being Narok, and Narok needs to fix their own problems.
Sure. And we need to take another break, but we'll be continuing with the conversation after the break. Keep sending in your feedback. I see lots of it, and I'll be sampling it. But do stay with us. We're back after this short commercial break.